Hello everyone, welcome to our first video of the Reinvent Your Advent Health Challenge and Education series, where we are going to be focusing on the first pillar of health, how we think. I'm Dr. Michael Chiappetto with Telos Chiropractic, and I am so happy to be your guide and facilitator through this learning process this season. B.J. Palmer used to say, every organ in your body is connected to the one under your hat. Now, from a chiropractic perspective, we are always focusing on promoting the optimal connection between your central nervous system, your brain, your spinal cord, and the rest of your body through a chiropractic adjustment. But this also correlates very strongly with that first pillar of health, how we think. And that is why we're talking about this topic first. As a brief review, there are 4 pillars of health: how we think, move, eat, and rest. Each of these categories have specific needs and form a foundation to creating and sustaining the healthiest body possible. Now, there are also stressors that can be incorporated with each of these categories, but today we're going to focus on the mental emotional side of how we think and how that contributes to our health experience. The mental emotional stressors that we can experience fall under a category that we chiropractors would call the first T, or thoughts. We have 3 T's: thoughts, traumas, and toxins, and these form the major categories of stress that we can experience. So in this picture, you can see a couple different varieties of mental emotional stressors that can affect our lives. On the right there, you've got what we call the 3 D's. D as in dog. These are major forms of mental emotional stress: death, debt, and divorce. And then you look on the left side there, these are things that are going to contribute to our mental health and emotional well-being. That is difficulty sleeping, maybe some difficulty in our relationships, romantic, personal, families, etc. Maybe difficulties and expressions while we are commuting or driving to work and interacting with others in public. And then mental stress that comes from work/school life balance. Every single one of us is experiencing a unique combination of mental emotional stress, and it's important to remember that this in and of itself is only one facet of the multitude of things that can be affecting our ability to adapt, function, and heal. And with that being said, with that unique expression, everyone is going to respond slightly different as well. And the question then becomes, how do we respond in a way that is going to be beneficial, and how do we recognize when we are not doing that, and how do we change it? It all comes down to understanding the underlying process that affects every single one of us. And our nervous system has a 3-step process when dealing with these different types of stress factors. So that's going to be the process of awareness, acknowledgement, and action. And this is a 3-step process that every single one of us uses in response to stress. Taking a look at this diagram here, what we'll see is that there is this cycle between the brain and the body, represented with these 2 symbols here. And there is information going from the body to the brain and from the brain to the body. And this is where this 3-step process occurs. So we take in information through our senses, and we're talking about mental emotional stress. That information is made aware to us through our senses. That gets sent up to our brain for acknowledgement and processing. And then based on that information, our brain will create an action strategy to meet the needs of that particular moment. This happens subconsciously and consciously. And when we start shifting into the conscious perspective, we start moving from this idea of sensation into the idea of perception. And that's what really this 3-step process is all about. It is through the process of perception that can dramatically impact an individual's ability to experience and express life. We've all heard the phrase, your perception is your reality, and there is some truth to this, because perception is really the lens that we as individuals experience the world around us. And this is all going to be influenced by what we focus on, what we process, what we remember, how we interpret things, different patterns that we've experienced over our life, and the different types of interests and mental thought patterns that we might have. Our perceptive lens is shaped by all of these different factors, and this is important because when it comes to our health, this can be a huge positive or a severe negative. And really it's the difference between taking on information or suffering. A good mentor of mine, Dr. Brett Jones, writes in his book, Know Who the F You Are, that it is misperception that creates suffering. No matter the circumstance, you can always shift your perspective. Your ability to shift perspective is directly related to your level of awareness. And what did we talk about earlier? The very process of perception starts with awareness. Then it leads to acknowledgement, and then finally into action strategies to get your needs met. So how can we do this in a productive way that meets the mental, emotional capacity of us as human beings? We can shift that perspective through using that three-step process that we've talked about, awareness, acknowledgement, and action, and just calling it something slightly different. Notice, feel, respond. This is a slight variation off the four-step process described in Dr. Marshall Rosenberg's book, Nonviolent Communication, A Language for Life, where you take observations, feelings, and needs and requests in order to better enrich and meet individuals' needs and the needs of people around you. And the language described with that is that the way people act and respond is directly correlated to the needs that they have. Okay, we have 9 universal human needs. These needs are love, community, connection, empathy, sustenance, safety, meaning, creativity, and autonomy. When our needs aren't met, our body is going to consciously or subconsciously work to get those needs met through that three-step process we've talked about before. The problem is, if our level of perception is superficial, the way that we're going to respond is going to be superficial as well. So taking that opportunity to notice, feel, then respond is going to give us that opportunity to get down to more effective depths and meet the needs that need to be addressed. It is a guide to really understanding and getting to the root of those needs. And it helps us to get a better understanding and perspective of how other people react and respond as well. So how do we apply this strategy? Well, we can use this exercise that I like to call the tune out, tune in, and tune up exercise. This takes about 5 minutes. It's 3 steps, and it goes like this. For the tune out, you take a moment to find a quiet place where you will not be distracted. You can sit or lie down and close your eyes. Number 2 is to tune in. You sit quietly and you begin to focus on the flow of your breath. As you do this, you start to notice what you notice. How do you feel in that particular moment? Physically, mentally, emotionally? Simply notice these sensations. After a few minutes, ask yourself, what is my most important need in the moment? Refer back to those 9 essential human needs. And then step number 3 is tune up. Once you have acknowledged the need in that moment, immediately take a step toward meeting that need and give yourself a little tune-up. An example of this would be noticing a feeling of loneliness or isolation. And this actually might be a sign for connection. So in order to tune up, you decide to address the need by calling a friend or a family member. This is really an exercise in mindfulness. And mindfulness, when incorporated every single day, helps us to deepen our understanding of our own perceptions, and we can better address our needs moving forward. Now, it's important to remember, this is only one strategy. The needs are universal, but the strategies are many. So we can use a lot of different things to help address these different areas. We won't go into all of them in this video just because that would take a very, very long time, but we'll give you some other strategies over the next few days to help with that process. All right, there you have it. That is our first video of the Reinvent Your Advent Health series, where we focused on the first pillar of health, how we think. Your needs, your awareness, and your perception all work together to how you can experience and express your healthiest life. And with this video, I hope you got a lot of value and figured out some strategies that you can do on your own in order to maximize those needs for you. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share this with other people that might be interested in this topic. And with your engagement, this takes you one step closer to our end of the challenge drawing, where we will be raffling off our new Telos Chiropractic hat. Thank you so much for your patience, and I will see you later this week.